Do you ever find yourself struggling to decide what dishes to serve at your Thanksgiving table? Well, look no further, because I've compiled a collection of 8 past videos that will inspire you to create a Southern holiday feast. These are must-have dishes for any Southern gathering. So let's dig in, let's reminisce, and let's be thankful for all the blessings this season brings. Were the heart and the soul of the family. One of them I called Granny, which was my daddy's mama, and the other was Grandma, which was Mama's mama. And they both had a talent for cooking up the most delicious dishes that brought comfort and joy to everyone who tasted them. One of their most beloved creations was cornbread dressing, which was a special dish that we all looked forward to during the holiday season. Now, making cornbread dressing is definitely a labor of love, and it involves several steps. Every cook adds their own special touch to make it unique and truly their own. This dish has a special way of bringing people together, creating a sense of warmth and belonging that is hard to find anywhere else. As a young girl, I used to watch my granny in the kitchen as she lovingly labored away at making the holiday meal. It was a heavenly experience to come running in the door and be immediately greeted by the warm and inviting sense of home. And make no mistake, those memories stick with a child and stay with them throughout their lifetime. In my case, it makes me want to recreate those same memories for my family so they can experience the same warmth and love that I felt growing up. To recreate those memories, I like to start a day ahead of time and bake a pan of cornbread and a pan of biscuits, just following basic recipes. Personally, I prefer using Martha White buttermilk cornmeal mix and following the recipe that's on the bag. I also like to have a few biscuits on hand. I don't use many. Sometimes I don't use them at all. You can find that recipe in the description of this video. By baking my breads ahead of time, I can ensure they are completely cooled and ready to be crumbled into a large bowl when I'm ready to start making the dressing. This also helps to save time and make the process a bit more manageable. Okay, now these are the ingredients that I'm going to be using today for my dressing, and I'm not going to go in order, but we're going to have 2 raw eggs, 2 cups of milk, 2 boiled eggs, a couple tablespoons of butter, poultry seasoning, light bread, cream of chicken soup, move this. I've got cornbread that I made yesterday, some leftover biscuits that I made yesterday, which I may not use today. Chicken to go in the dressing, salt and pepper, celery, onion. What am I missing? My broth. Broth and a chicken bouillon cube. I think that's everything. If I miss anything, I'll add it in as we go. All right, again, I've pulled out Mama's stainless steel dish. This bowl has been around my whole life. It has gathered garden. It has made things like this, dressing for holidays. It has been at hog killings, you know, when large batches of meat get set to the side or to go in to be processed. It has been around. You can see the chips and dings all over it, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. This brings back so many memories. All right, let's get started. Now, once I'm ready to make my dressing, I crumble the cornbread, and if I'm going to use biscuits, I crumble them. Now, I'm going to take out my cornbread here. I got one of my pones a little bit dark yesterday, so I'm not going to use that. But anything that's light, I'm going to crumble up in here because I just don't want any dark bits in my dressing. I bake this cornbread on a cooler temperature than you normally would, just so that it would not get dark. I'll lay that to the side. You know, a bit here and there is not going to hurt, but I don't want to use a lot of dark. And like I've mentioned before, this is just a basic recipe. And this is going to provide the perfect base for this dressing and ensure that each bite is a delicious combination of flavors and textures. Take that out. Is that all bottom? And this one. Now I know what size pan that I'm going to be baking this in, and that's going to determine how much cornbread I use. I usually use more than one batch, one baking, one pone. What do you call it? You get a little more? All right, let me get a little bit of this one. Again, I don't want the bottom. Just want the white middle. It's probably going to be about enough. Let me clean this up, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that we got our cornbread in here, I like to break it up. It's going to break up anyway when I put the liquid in. Now, white bread. Believe it or not, using light bread in here will actually make this dressing fluffier. I'm going to start out with 3. Since these are thick, I'm going to start out with 3. I'm just going to kind of cut it into cubes. And sometimes I cut the crust off and sometimes I leave it. Now this isn't super dark, or I may leave it today. I'm going through all the trouble to take the crust off the cornbread. I'm going to leave the crust on the bread, white bread. It's fresh bread. Feels like a sponge cake. All right. Now we got bread mixed in. This mixture provides the perfect base for the dressing and ensures that each bite is a delicious combination of flavors, textures, the cornbread, and sometimes the biscuits. Biscuits can be a little more packy, so I'm not putting them in today. They provide a rich, savory flavor, and the light bread helps balance out and add a touch of sweetness, believe it or not. Now, after my bread mixture's in the bowl, I'm going to add plenty of onions and celery. I've probably got 1.5 cups of each here. Go ahead and stick that in the bowl. Oh yeah, that smells wonderful. Don't you love this time of year? It is cool this morning. I'm going to say high 30s here in the South, which that's cool for us. But oh my goodness, it makes me think of the holidays. And I am so ready. And you can bet this will be on my Thanksgiving table. All right, next I'm going to add 3/4 teaspoons of poultry seasoning. Get this lid off. All right, there's a half, and I'm going to do about half of that again. All right, there's my poultry seasoning. Okay. Half teaspoon of salt, half pepper, and I'll taste this later. Now, as I mix all this together, the aroma of the onions and the seasoning mingled together is just intoxicating. It fills the whole kitchen with a scent that's comforting and inviting. This is one of my favorite parts of making dressing, as it reminds me of the holiday season and all of its wonderful memories that come with it. Next, I'm going to pour in 2 cups of milk. Two cups. And I'm going to pour in some chicken broth. And I've got 4 cups right here from when I made chicken broth yesterday. But I'm going to heat it up. Hang on just a second. I'm going to heat up that chicken broth, and then I'm going to put me a chicken bouillon cube in there. Let it dissolve. I'm heating it so it'll dissolve it. I love these. While I'm waiting, let me pick up a few things. I'll tell you what I can do while I'm waiting on my broth is go ahead and get my baking dish prepared. Now, I have a particular dish that I make dressing in every year. It was a gift from my daughter, and I affectionately call it my dressing baking dish. That's about all I use it for. Not quite warm yet. What I can do while I'm waiting, though, is go ahead and put my cream of chicken soup in. I can also add my 2 boiled eggs. I'll show you. I'm going to wait till last to put in my raw eggs, and I'll show you why. All right, just a few more minutes. This will be warm. Warm enough to melt my bouillon cube anyway. It smells heavenly. All right, this was about to boil. I'll pour a little bit out where I can crumble this up. This bouillon cube is just going to add another layer of flavor. Can you get chicken and dressing with too much chicken? I don't think so. Let me grab a see if we can't get this dissolved. Those boiled eggs are going to add another layer of texture. And that this broth is so rich. I mean, how can this not taste good? This is going to look like a lot of liquid, but it's supposed to. I cannot stand, but this is personal preference now, dry cornbread dressing. I want it a bit soupy when it goes in the oven. That smells wonderful. I've got to taste it and see where we are. That's what I was going to tell you. I'll wait and put my raw egg in last. That way I can taste it before I put that raw egg in. Perfect. I don't know if you noticed it or not in the video, but when I was doing my poultry season, I said I wanted 3/4 teaspoons of poultry seasoning, and I actually had my half tablespoon out instead of my half teaspoon. So I put more than I intended, but it was sitting on top, and I was able to dip it back off, some of it. But that is perfect right there. I believe it can handle the rest of that broth. Oh, that's instant flavor. Oh, yes. And you know what? I might grab at least one biscuit and crumble up in here. You know why? Because Granny did. In Granny's kitchen, when I was growing up, which was in the early 70s, there was probably always biscuits, and it just adds another layer of texture. I think I got plenty of moisture in here where I can do it too. Maybe two. Maybe two. Let's do two. Homage to Granny. I don't want to get too carried away. I want to stay light and fluffy. All right, let's get that mixed. Like I say, we got plenty of juice to absorb that. This is going to be so good on the holiday table. All right. Let's break our eggs. Am I through tasting? Let me get another spoon. Although it's my kitchen, my family, they're used to me tasting. Perfect. Got a little crunch of the onion just in. Now, a lot of people will saute their onions and celery ahead of time, and that's fine if you're making a thin cake of dressing to where it don't have to cook a long time, but this one's going to be in the oven for a while. It's going to cook these vegetables. All right. You won't see me taste it now. This is going to help bind everything together. Make it a little more fluffy. All right, also, the chicken that I picked off the bone this morning in the wee hours of the morning, I'm going to go ahead and add that one. Because you want plenty. If this is chicken and dressing, you want plenty of chicken in it. And I've also reserved some of the breast meat. I'll show you where I put it in just a second. Oh my goodness, this smells good. Makes the whole house smell good. Now, once everything is mixed together, I'm going to pour this mixture into a lightly greased baking dish. I want to make sure and spread it out even. That way this chicken that I put in, it may not hold it all. If it don't, I'll just put it in a pie plate. Ooh. Turn that around where I can get all this goodness. Granny's mixing bowl has come to the holiday table again. Oh yes, that's going to be a bowl full. Now this will rise a little bit. Hopefully it won't bake over in the oven. But see how soupy that is? That's exactly what I want. I want that soupiness right there. Now I'm going to take my bigger pieces of chicken and just start stuffing them down. This is mostly the breast meat. Try and get it to where everybody that dips will get chicken. I'll push it down in just a second. This was a big fryer. Oh yeah, we got plenty. Look at there. Maybe a little more in this corner. Well, it's really filled my bowl. And that all determines on how much cornbread you use. I used about a Macon and a half, however you want to call it, a pone. If you look at the back of the bag, it's got a 2-cup recipe. There we go. Now I'm not going to cook this fast. I don't want it dark brown. Tell you what I might do, and it's a little full. I may wait till later. Maybe about halfway through the cooking process, I'm going to cut up a little bit of butter on top, but I'm afraid it'll just run all in here for now. So I'm going to wait. Let's get this in the oven. I got it set on 350. I pulled the dish out of the oven about 15 minutes before it was supposed to be done. As you can see, it still jiggles in the middle, which means it's not quite ready yet. I top it off with small pieces of butter, which helps to create a golden brown crust that is both savory and satisfying. As this dressing bakes in the oven, the aroma fills the kitchen with a scent that is both comforting and inviting. I can hardly wait for it to finish baking. As you can see, the dish is nice and light, with a fluffy texture that we all love. No packy or grainy cornbread dressing here. Today I'm making a southern staple, baked macaroni and cheese. Now mac and cheese was present at every holiday, every church supper, every reunion, every gathering that I can remember going to as a child. It was probably my very favorite dish. I remember Granny Davis would make it for me almost every time I stayed with her. Sweet, sweet memories. And I'm sure if my mom would have allowed it, I would have had it every meal. Let me show you how I make it. Go ahead and set your oven to 350 so it can be preheating. And then we're going to boil our pasta, so grab a pot. You're going to add, for this recipe, you're going to add 4 quarts of salted water. Bring that to a rapid boil. Then you're going to add 3 cups of elbow macaroni and stir it just a bit to keep it from sticking or clumping together. Once it's returned to a boil, set a timer for 7 minutes. You want to cook it a little less than al dente. I checked mine at 7 minutes and it was perfect. It was still firm, but it was not hard. Remember, we're going to be baking it in the oven. Now that your pasta is ready, take it to the sink and let it drain. Now while your pasta is draining, let's make the cheese filling. Go ahead and grab a large bowl. And I'm going to start out with 1.5 cups of milk and 1/2 cup heavy cream. Now next comes my cheeses of choice, and that is pepper jack, sharp, did I say sharp cheddar cheese, Velveeta, and a Colby Monterey Jack blend. Now I'm going to get all of this mixed together and start adding my seasonings. Now I start out with plenty of black pepper. You cannot get enough black pepper in this dish to suit me. Then I move on to a little garlic powder and onion powder, and lastly some smoked paprika. Now you notice I did not add any salt yet because of the milk of the cheese. I'm going to taste it here in just a minute. Now when this is all mixed together, don't be bashful. Grab a spoon and give it a taste. If it's bland, go ahead and add more seasoning. You'll see mine needed a touch of salt. This step of the recipe cannot be bland. It has to have flavor. So do not undersalt it. Remember, you're still going to have to add pasta. Once you have your sauce flavorful, add your pasta and mix it up well. I almost forgot to add my 2 beaten eggs. I normally add those right before I add the pasta, but I just about forgot them. But this will work. Just mix them in, mix it all together. You'll be fine. Now, grab your favorite casserole dish and butter it generously, because you are ready to pour all that cheesy goodness into the pan. Guess what's next? You guessed it, more cheese. I use the same blends that I used in the cheese mixture. Now you can use any combination of cheeses that you like, but my taste buds are looking for that strong, sharp cheddar flavor. Now your oven should be preheated by now, so pop it on in and let the magic begin. And this is what it looks like 45 minutes later. It's golden, it's bubbly, and now I have to wait 15 more minutes before I can taste it. It needs just a few minutes to set up. That is delicious. Today we're turning a humble vegetable into the star of our holiday feast with just 3 ingredients. And here's the twist. It's completely meat-free. Now, my granny believed in simple, flavorful meals that make the most of your ingredients. And today, we're putting the spotlight on green beans in a delightful, meat-free medley. Here's what you'll need. You'll need canned green beans, which I have some from the garden. What's that, 32 ounces? Now, you can use canned from the grocery store green beans. And I'll have to tell you, I love Margaret Holmes' products. She does not disappoint. Her stuff is seasoned well. And most of the time, all you have to do is heat it up, and it's delicious. But you can use any kind of canned green beans. Now, I don't use French style, but French cut. But any brand of green beans will work for this. You're going to need 1/8 cup of oil. Now, we're going meat-free today. I think this is vegetable oil. I've used olive oil. I've used bacon grease, but again, we're going meat-free. But bacon grease would be wonderful right here. And you need 1 tablespoon of sugar, and that's it. Okay, so let's get cooking. We're going to start out with my quart of green beans. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the ingredient list is salt and pepper. There they go. Using these green beans, the home canned ones, I will taste them before I'm finished to make sure. I will taste them to see if they need salt and pepper, because there's not, I don't know if I put any in there when I canned them. But if I was using, say for instance, these Margaret Holmes green beans, I would not salt and pepper them because she puts plenty. But I will taste these at the end and see if they need salt and pepper. But I'm going to let this come up to temperature, And then I'll add my other ingredients. Okay, they're coming up to temperature now. So I'm going to add my 1/8 cup oil. And 1 tablespoon of sugar. Give that a stir. So as of right now, you got the liquid out of your green beans, which is water, your oil, and your sugar. Now here's the key to unlocking the flavor of these green beans. Let these beans cook until all the water has evaporated. This step is crucial for achieving a light caramelization that will elevate the taste to a whole new level. I'm going to turn it down just a little. You can see it's getting hot. Okay, they've been going about 10 minutes. You can see that that liquid is reducing. Now when it gets a little closer to being gone, I may turn the heat down just a little. But keep it going. We want to get rid of that juice. While I'm waiting on this to cook down, I'll show you. You know what this is? It stays on my noodle board all the time. But this is bacon drippings. And I keep some of it. Every time I cook bacon, I save the drippings and just put it in a jar. And I'm very much in favor of putting it in beans like this. And most of the time, when I cook green beans, I do fill them full of meat. But there's times you don't have meat or you don't want meat in your green beans. And I would have never dreamed that these could be as flavorful as they are without putting meat in them. I mean, I've always eaten them with meat growing up, but these are just as good, if not better, without meat. All right, we're getting down. See how the juice is just about gone? Very little water left in it. Now we'll watch them close from here because we don't want to burn them, we don't want to scorch them. We'll let it cook just a little bit more. I'm standing over them watching them. And if you notice, the water is almost gone and you're down to just the little bit of oil you put in there and the tablespoon of sugar. See, that's oil. So we're getting close now. I think I can smell, there's a change in the smell. The caramelization has begun. Can you hear them beginning to sizzle? That's where the magic happens. Now, like I said, as the water disappears, you'll notice that the magic is happening. Oh yeah. They're starting to sizzle now. The oil and the sugar is working together and it's going to create a beautiful caramelization that just adds a depth of flavor that you won't believe. Now, we've kept this simple. 3 ingredients. The cooking process is what the magic is all about. It's about patience and letting those green beans transform into a side dish that's not only delicious, but also a star on your holiday table. Hear the sizzle? On the stick. They will. Oh yeah. We're getting there. Okay, I better keep these stirred. I can smell the caramelization on these. And just about all the liquid is gone, even the oil. Just a little tiny bit left. And I won't run it to the very, very bottom. I don't want to take a chance on them burning or getting scorched. See if I can find one. You can't tell it too much right here. Maybe right there. See, that's bits of caramelization. Oh man, does it smell good. Alright, I'm about to take these off the heat. There is no liquid left at the bottom of my pan. Put some of these on your Thanksgiving table and then let me know in the comments how your family liked them. Don't say anything about them. Don't say how you cooked them. But just put them on the table in place of your regular green bean dish. And let me know what they say about it. Today at the Old Tobacco Patch, I am making classic Southern-style potato salad. This dish is so versatile, it goes to summer barbecues, church cookouts, friends' homes when food is needed, and it makes its way to our Sunday dinner table. It is simple yet flavorful. Come with me as I pick out some freshly dug potatoes and we'll make it. Now I'm going to start out by prepping my potatoes. Today I'm using red potatoes. Red Pontiac, I believe, was the variety. And you know why? You saw that 5-gallon bucket sitting in the back of my buggy. I got a little more than a 5-gallon bucket off of one 25-foot row, and what a blessing that was. Now, to be a good steward of those blessings, I try to cook some every other day. We like to just take the small ones, brush them, get all the dirt off, and brush some of the red skin off, and then just boil them till they're tender. Serve them with a little bit of butter. They are delicious. Potatoes and onions are the first things we harvest in the spring. We planted onions the 1st of November, and we've done harvested them. And we planted these potatoes on Valentine's Day, and now we've just harvested them. It's just a sign of spring. But I'll gift some of these. I may try to can a few, but my goal is for none of them to go to waste. Here's a quick view of what we like in our potato salad. Of course, potatoes. I'm going to boil some eggs. I like the sweet Vidalia onion and the red onion. We like nothing but blue plate mayonnaise in this house, so I'm going to use that. Sweet relish and some plain yellow mustard. I'll put some paprika on top for decoration. And as far as the spices, it's just, of course, your salt and pepper. Maybe some chives, maybe some parsley. We'll see. I'm going to start out by dicing up my potatoes into somewhat uniform sized pieces. That way they all get done at the same time. Now you'll notice that I like to leave some bits of red skin on some of the potatoes just for added color. Please excuse my gloved hand. I had a fire ant bite on my finger. I got several of them while I was digging potatoes. Next, I put my diced potatoes in boiling water, and just because I want to infuse a little more flavor in these potatoes, I go ahead and salt and pepper the water. Once my potatoes were fork tender, I drained them and put them in the refrigerator to chill. Now we start building our salad. You will notice I don't use exact measurements. I start with a little and I just add more of what I need. Let your taste buds lead you through this part. To the mayonnaise, I'm going to add some of my homemade sweet pickles. I also add some store-bought sweet relish just because it's a more vibrant green than the homemade pickles. Then I put just a small squirt of mustard, some Vidalia sweet onions, and some red onions. To that, I'm going to put some hard-boiled eggs, a little salt and pepper, and mix it all well. Hey, Hood. What you doing? Nothing. Oh, where'd you get that? What is that? Oh, that pool water might help too later on. Is your mama gonna come swim, you think?
I don't know, but I have my bikini in here.
You do? Look.
Got
mine on too. Then get your chilled potatoes out of the refrigerator and start folding them in. I added more sweet relish and more red onion for color. Then I gave it a taste. Frankie and Charlotte thought they needed to give it a try as well. All agreed that it tasted just right. The only thing that will change is that by tomorrow, these onions will really flavor this dish. And that's it. Really simple, really flavorful, just an easy dish to make in the summertime. Now, if we only had some barbecue or burgers or grilled ribs, but hey, you know what? I do have some fried chicken, so we're going to sit down and enjoy this chicken and potato salad lunch. Today I'm in the kitchen working on a cranberry dish that my family will like. I grew up on cranberry sauce from the can, and I never learned to eat it. To be honest, I'm not a huge cranberry fan at all, but it has shown up on every Thanksgiving table that I can remember sitting at since childhood. So it's tradition, and I'm going to make a cranberry dish that I like. This recipe is simple, but it does require a little prep time, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is wash and then roughly chop 12 ounces of cranberries. I'll put the recipe in the description section of this video. Once you have them chopped to your liking, sprinkle 1 cup, more or less, of sugar. Stir it in good and then cover your bowl with plastic wrap, and you'll want to place it in the refrigerator overnight. This is the prep time that I mentioned earlier. Here's a little snapshot of all the ingredients in this dish. You've got 12 ounces of fresh cranberries, a total of 1 1/4 cups sugar, 1 cup heavy cream, 1 10-ounce package of mini marshmallows, 1 8-ounce can of crushed pineapple drained, and 1 cup of chopped pecans, which is optional. The next day, when you pull your cranberries out of the refrigerator, you will notice they are now in a delicious, syrupy sauce. This is just what we wanted to happen. Next, you'll want to grab your mixing bowl and pour 1 cup of heavy cream. You want to mix it until it begins to fluff, and then add 1/4 cup of sugar and continue beating a little longer. I like it to be nice and fluffy. Once you have your cream, by hand, start folding in your other ingredients. See these nice syrupy cranberries I mentioned earlier? So in go the cranberries, the marshmallows, pineapple, and my personal favorite, the pecans. Then just lightly fold until all of your ingredients are incorporated. You'll then need to chill this dish for about an hour. I like it served cold. As you can see, I didn't chill it first because I was ready for a taste. Okay, get ready to indulge in a holiday tradition with a twist. This Southern pecan pie is the perfect addition to your holiday feast with its sweet and nutty flavors and golden crust. Gather around the table with your loved ones and savor every delicious bite of this classic dessert. Okay, let me go over our list of ingredients today. I'm going to use a store-bought pie crust. This is a 9-inch deep dish, just for the sake of simplicity. I've got 3 beaten eggs. I'm going to use a little vanilla, melted butter, white Karo syrup, brown sugar, some salt, and some pecans. Oh, and be sure to stick around because I'm going to add an ingredient that takes your pecan pie game to the next level. All right, I've gone ahead and preheated my oven to 350. And I'm going to start out by putting in my 3 beaten eggs here. My cup of Karo syrup. Get all that goodness out of there. This is a quick recipe to whip up. I got 1 cup of brown sugar. 1/3 cup melted butter. Do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'll do 1 teaspoon of vanilla, but rather than getting another thing out, I'll just do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little extra. Okay. I'm going to take my 2 cans. Let me set that to the side for 2 seconds. Go ahead and put my nuts in the bottom of this crust. I like lots and lots and lots of nuts in mine. Set that back to the side and get this mixed up. Now, back when I was growing up, we always had cane syrup on a shelf out under the shelter. So I'm sure that my mom, instead of using white Karo syrup, would have used cane syrup at times, which would have given this a whole different flavor. Now, if she didn't use cane syrup, I'm sure I've seen her use the dark Karo syrup. Let me see if I got some of that. Yes, dark Karo. I'm sure she has used that before. Get this mixed really well. Make sure you don't have any lumps in your sugar. I think we're pretty good. Now, remember that ingredient that I said will take this to the next level? Let me show you what it is. Roasted pecan oil. Just another layer of flavor, more depth. I'm going to do maybe a 1/2 teaspoon because it's roasted. There's a 1/4 and a 1/2. Next level. All right, the next thing I want to do is get this filling poured over my pecans. I better put something under this too. It looks like it's going to get really full. I'm not going to put any more than that. I'm going to go ahead and put this in a 350-degree oven. And I'm going to let it bake about 30 minutes. I'm going to keep watching it. I do not want to get the edge of this pie crust too brown. So I'll make me some foil covering to go over it. Okay, I pulled this pie out of the oven after 30 minutes of baking. And you can see this is about as dark as I want the crust, but it's nowhere near done. I don't know if you can see it. It's still very jiggly, so it's nowhere near done. But I want these edges covered. I've got a pie crust cover that you just lay on here somewhere. I should have got it out. But this should work. Okay, it's out of the oven and it looks golden and delicious. I'm going to let it sit here on the bar a couple of hours before I slice it. Let's give it a taste. That's really good. So nutty and so flavorful. And believe it or not, it's not overly sweet. Maybe because I use brown sugar instead of white, and also I put twice the amount of nuts as some recipes call for. So, get ready to hear the oohs and the ahs from your guests as they take their first bite of this delectable southern pecan pie. It's the perfect way to end any meal and a holiday tradition that will never go out of style. I am looking to add a delicious and unique side dish to my Easter table this year. I'm going to try and give this creamy grape salad recipe a try. I saw it a few days back on Mandy and the Macon, and I thought, man, that looks delicious, and it may serve as our dessert as well. This is the ingredients I'm going to need today. First and foremost, Mama's trusty mixing bowl that has been around forever. We're going to use cream cheese. We're going to use green and red grapes. We need a little granulated sugar, some sour cream, vanilla, some pecans, and some brown sugar. All right, the first thing I'm going to add is my cream cheese, and it has been softened. Okay. I think that's a third cup of sugar, half cup sour cream, and vanilla. I'm not going to get a measuring spoon out. 1, 2. All right, let's give this a mix. Now going to bring my mixture over here, back over here, and start adding my grapes to it. Looks like a lot of grapes. Just trying to dry them off a bit. I didn't want any excess water on them from where I washed them. Oh, I hope this is good because it looks like it'll be so refreshing. Is it supposed to be hot on Easter this year? I'll have to look at the weather, see if it's going to be cool, or you never know here in the South. It might be 40 or it might be 80. I need to look and see. Now let's see if we can give this a little toss. Get this creaminess all over these grapes. Looks good. Now, I've never had this before. And I think the recipe said once you get it coated well, put it in the refrigerator and let it chill. We got it coated. Into the refrigerator we go. Okay, I dipped me some out of the refrigerator so it has chilled a little bit. I thought, man, that's a lot of cream on those grapes, and I got to looking back, and you know, I told you I halved her recipe. Well, her recipe called for 8 ounces of cream cheese, and for whatever reason, I measured out 6 ounces. So there is a little more cream cheese in here than we actually needed. I think it was a pound of red, a pound of purple or black grapes. So there's a little more cream cheese than what I needed. But now, I chilled it. Then it says to sprinkle, and I'm going to do it in my bowl instead of in the big bowl. Sprinkle brown sugar on the top. Then, sprinkle pecans on the top. How can you go wrong with that? All right. That's good. It's crunchy. It's got a big cream cheese flavor that is sweetened a little bit. I pick up the brown sugar as well, which I like, believe it or not. What a weird combination. I love those grapes kind of bursting that juice in your mouth. Now, for me, it would not be the same without the pecans. The pecans are a must. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Southern staple, classic sweet tea, the house wine of the South, or so says Truvy on Steel Magnolias. This recipe has a secret ingredient, and it will make it the clearest and the smoothest glass of tea you have ever tasted, and it will only take you minutes to prepare. Let's make it. Start out by heating 4 cups of water just shy of boiling. When you get to that point, turn the heat off and drop in 2 family-sized tea bags. Today, I'm using Lipton, but you can use the tea of your choice. Lipton, Tetley, Louisiana are the most common here in the South. It is an orange pekoe and pekoe cut black tea. Let this steep for 7 minutes. While we're waiting, let me say that
everyone in the South has their own recipe for sweet tea, or they don't use a recipe at all because they make it so much. And then you have the lemon lovers. Lemon and sweet tea is also a big thing in the South, although I do not prefer it. Next, take your tea bags out, let them drain, but do not squeeze them. You do not want to chance bursting the tea bags and spilling the grounds all in your tea. At this point, I add my sugar to the warm tea. It melts much better in that warm liquid. Stir this around until it's well mixed. Now remember that secret ingredient I mentioned? It's coming up. But first hit that like button and then comment below on how you like your tea. Hot, cold, sweet, unsweet. Also post any questions you may have about sweet tea and I'll try to answer them for you. Okay, here it is. 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. Now this does not affect the taste of the tea, but what it does is remove cloudiness and it removes bitterness from the tea. Tea with a pinch of baking soda is some of the best tea I've ever tasted. Pour your tea, sugar, soda mixture into a pitcher, and from there I finish filling it with 4 cups of ice. Stir it one more time and you're ready to serve. For the Southeast, no single item of food or drink best summarizes this region. It is found in every restaurant, grocery store, front porch, and home kitchen from the Gulf of Mexico to West Virginia. If you are a Southerner, you're surprised when it's not offered publicly or privately. If you're from another region, you're surprised that sweet tea even exists.
Thank you for joining me during this holiday season, and I hope these 8 dishes inspire you to create a Thanksgiving feast that not only satisfies your guest, but also warms your heart. Remember, it's all about gathering around the table, sharing stories, and cherishing the time spent with loved ones. So I'm wishing you a joyful and bountiful Thanksgiving filled with gratitude and delicious food. Blessings to you all, and I'll see you in the next video.